Hello and welcome to the Flutter Factor. This show is all about exploring the Flutter world, meeting new people on the shows, deep diving with the new tools and technologies, and meeting different experts. Today I have Deepak with me. I am your host Hasnen Tai and an internal speaker Vikas, who will be talking about the complete process of the development of Flutter app, taking a decision on analytics, using analytics. So let us go ahead and welcome Deepak. Deepak, please tell us about yourself. What do you do in the Flutter field?
Thank you so much, Hasnan. Hey guys, I'm Deepak Yadav, and I'm a SD1 at Eyewa. So I have around 3.5 years of experience in Flutter, and I have been working in a lot of projects. And it's like a pleasure to be here. And thank you. I would like to thank GeekyAnts for inviting me. Yeah, Vikas, over to you. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, so Hasnain, thanks so much to invite me in the first episode of this Flutter Factor. I hope that GeekyAnts is gonna take this for a long journey. So glad to be here. And I have been working with Flutter for last 3 years now. So and I have published some of the packages. So I think I know a little bit about this field.
Since you guys has worked a lot with the Flutter development, let us know your journey, how you started Flutter development and how it's going on. Because when I started since back in 2018, and it was, now I feel like I'm once a Flutter developer, it's always a Flutter development, because the process of development and the community love what you get, and the events and the development process, the ease of development is everything so good that you will always love developing apps with Flutter. So I just wanted to know what's your experience, how you started, and how it's going on.
Well, for me, I think I was in college back then. I was creating some Android app using Java, Kotlin, and all. So, and then very little knowledge about cross-platform work. It's like either Android or iOS. Then I came to know that hey, there are frameworks exist that a single code base you can run like on the multiple platforms. So, at that time, React Native was on the move, so I tried React Native, but then suddenly I somewhere I heard about Flutter, so I thought let's explore the documentation. So seeing the structure, documentation, and everything, I kind of fell in love with it. And it also in the backend they have Dart. So if you know any OOPS language, you can like simply relate to like Dart. So that's how I thought let's give it a chance. And once I jumped into Flutter, then there's no going back, and I think Vikas will agree with that as well. So it's been 3.5 years since I'm working with Flutter, and the best part is that it is backed by Google, right? So if you talk about stability, it is going to be stable every single time. So there's no going back. Once a Flutter, always a Flutter. So that was my story, I think.
All right. So how about you, Vikas? What's your experience developing or being a Flutter developer?
Yeah, for me, it was mostly the peer pressure, I think. Yeah, everyone was talking about Flutter at the time I started. Everyone was talking. Google was promoting it in their iOS, and now they are having the Flutter shows separately for this. So it was kind of very hyped up. Before this, I was working with Python, and as an fellow engineer, everybody can relate that we always start some project and never finish it. We have some ideas but never finish it. Yeah. So Flutter was the first, I think, a tool that gave me the bandwidth or the features that I needed to create a complete project and launch it on a Play Store. And that gave me a rush, and now we are here.
All right. So, I started learning Flutter in 2018, as I said, and it was in a beta stage at that time. And I was really having fun to learn Flutter. It's 2023 right now, and we see there's a huge wave of Flutter going on into the market. I mean, any tech giant comes in and talks about the Flutter. Any startup comes in and talks about the Flutter. Not just a talking purpose, but I guess the people know the value of Flutter. The people know what Flutter can do. Also, I have seen Flutter being discussed at the Shark Tank. I mean, those who don't know what is Shark Tank, maybe they can go ahead and search on the internet. That's a show in India. So I have heard about the conversation. The Flutter was in a conversation during the Shark Tank. So what do you think, Deepak? How is Flutter adoption going on right now?
Well, to be honest, if anyone like choosing a cross-platform framework, right, to like develop their app, 99% of them are going with Flutter. Let's say I like pulled up in like a lot of companies say we have to like do a POC on some small scale project, and then like we'll go. So 99% of them go with Flutter because the stability and the packages that they have. So what I see adoption is like, let's say if you want to like build an app, so initially you have everything, you can start very easily, resources are available very easily, and stability is very high. So 99% of the company today is going with Flutter if they have a chance to start a project. Yeah. So I would also like to hear it from Vikas.
Yeah, I think it's mostly the maintenance cost. Basically, the company is saving a lot of maintenance cost over this technology because we have to manage only one single code base for every platform. And that's why the lot of the big companies like Spotify, ByteDance, if no one knows about ByteDance, they develop TikTok. So they all are switching to Flutter. So I think it's mainly about the workforce that they needed and the maintenance cost. And plus, there is a plus point that it is backed by Google. So it's never going down.
All right. So adding to the what Deepak and Vikas said, I love Flutter because the ease of development what Flutter has. I mean, what made Flutter popular is not going and searching for the UI library, right? I mean, if you're using React Native or maybe any other framework to develop a mobile application, very first thing you should do is, I want to develop an app, what UI library I should be using, whether I should go with the Chakra UI or either I should go with the Material UI. But in Flutter, that's not the case. I mean, we get an inbuilt UI or a widget library that is Material or Cupertino. Again, that is been professionally developed by the actual Flutter developers. Also, there are some open source contributors, but the standardization of the widgets development or the development process is being organized and managed by the actual Googlers. That's what make a difference, a lot of difference in terms of other mobile UI frameworks. I mean, you get a very rich set of widgets where you just write few things and you see a lot of well-designed, well-structured, with a design system principles followed by with that widget, right? So I guess that's where the Flutter has been being popular in the development field, and that's why the developer likes it. Also, since we are talking about going ahead and maybe we have another design system available, and if we want to use it, we should use it or install it as a package. So I mean, Deepak has done a lot of work. I just want to have a word or just want to have an advice on how we can choose a correct package, right? Maybe, I mean, Deepak has worked a lot with getting a package into their mobile app development, and then if we fall in some problem, how do we manage that problem if that problem is related to that package?
Correct. Thank you, Hasnen, for like bringing this. I mean, this topic. Actually, I wanted to like discuss about it. If you had not like read this question, I would have like brought it. So as we talked about adoption, let me tell you that package and plugin are the reason why today Flutter is booming, right? You can't deny that. Let me tell you one thing. There is a story. Actually, I was working. Actually, I was asked to work on a project. So it was really big project, right? So it was in the React Native. So it was like they were they have not updated that app in like two years. So what they like thought that we should be creating a new app based out of Flutter, and then we will replace the React Native app. So on the React Native, they have used one package that is force update, and for the force update, there, I mean, if you have to switch from an app to an app store, like there should be there is a URL schema, right? So they have not updated that app from like last 2 years. So that's Apple changed that schema. So when we completely developed our app, everything was set. A lot of effort. I mean, 6 months has been already. 6 months team has worked really hard. And then what we thought that, hey, let's release the app in a staged way. First 5%, 10%, 20%, and we will take the feedback and we will somehow improve that, because you like don't know if your app has like 1.5 million users and you will completely shift them to a new app. It is not a good idea. Let's do it in a phased way. So the day we pushed a build on the app store, right? What happened is that package extracted that version from web scraping from the app store, and then that React Native app stopped app, and they asked for the force update for the 100% customer. We thought that we will roll only like 5%, but from that app, every single user is blocked. And the problem where arises, like when people are tapping on the force update, it is not taking them to anywhere because link was gone. I mean, URL scheme was changed. So that situation came, and all the company, the revenue loss, every management, everyone done. So somehow thanks to that customer team that they tried their best, like calling customers and all, somehow giving them email and all. Somehow they got it updated. So that's when I thought that what package, what plugin, really meant was. So that is the challenge when I faced, and I thought that it is the package, stability of the package that makes a framework, best. So that is the thing. So if you see, right? So if you think we have pub.dev on the on like for the Flutter, right, where you can see the backend, and it is so structured. You have favorite plugin, you have all the voted plugin, which plugin is backed by which company, which. So the best thing about is like choosing the best packages that are really stable, and especially that is being backed by Google. So if you have any alternative package which is like like given by some like developers, I would also not blame that, because they have certain like responsibilities, and once they solve their their problem and they simply move somewhere, right? They don't maintain that package. So I would recommend that people should avoid that, developers should avoid that packages. If they want, they can build our own. So yeah, I think packages are the backbone of a framework. And as far as Flutter is concerned, I can say Flutter had the best package, management system, that is pub.dev. So you can take the favorites, highly voted, and the best one. So yeah, I think packages and plugins are something that makes a framework where it is today.
Yeah, Hasnen, I totally agree with Deepak. Actually, the Flutter team as well is doing a very great job at maintaining their packages. I think most used packages are maintained by Flutter team. I think they are also publishing a video on YouTube every week explaining package by the name package of the week, and they are promoting the packages by other companies or organizations that are doing a great job in the community. So I would also suggest that use a package that is backed by a good organization, let's say GeekyAnts. Yeah, so it would be the best thing to do.
I think I have another story. Sorry to interrupt, Hasnen. I think I have another story regarding package and plugin. So it's like 2 years back. I think I was working on some media app. So there was we actually needed a media player, a player to play video. So we tried a number of packages, but it doesn't suffice our like condition. So somehow searching on the internet, and we found that a GitHub repository actually, some video player from GeekyAnts. So I thought let's give it a try, and within minutes, our use case solved. So at that day, I mean, the moment we got our problem solved, I mean, from that day to like today, GeekyAnts has a very special place in my heart, and that's where what they have, you guys actually, what you guys have done for the community. I think that's great, man. I mean, that will be always close to our heart. I mean, today itself, what GeekyAnt is doing for the community and for us, for the I mean, especially for the packages and plugin that they are solving the problem. So I would like to thank you guys from all the community. I mean, your work are really awesome. So thanks for keeping. I mean, thanks for that, and keep the good work up so that we can be released.
I also have a chaos story actually. I was developing a app which actually related a very heavy background work. So we needed to run the background processes for more than 20, 30, I think, for hours. But as you know, that Android app is killed in the background, or kills all the background processes after 15 or 20 minutes. So it was the community that helped us. We mixed about 3 to 4 packages and got to achieve what we needed. So uh, being a community member, being publishing the packages on pub.dev is a great thing, I think, and everyone should do this.
Okay, so the takeaway from from the previous from the discussion what we had over here between the Vikas, me, and Deepak, that if you find a package which has a tag of Flutter favorite and backed by some other individual or maybe some other organization, you should always pick up the Flutter favorite, because that's where you make sure that you're going to have a great support, because people are loving that package, and that will be having a regular updates, and that will be managed well by the open source contributors or maybe by the actual Flutter team. And also there is one more takeaway, is that if you find a package from GeekyAnts and if you find a package from some XYZ, you know what to pick. It's always a GeekyAnts, right? So you need to make sure you pick up the GeekyAnts.
Yeah, that's correct. That's 100% true. Otherwise, you will not be able to develop your app.
That's correct. I totally agree with that.
Right. Since I work a lot with the plugin and package development, and also Vikas talked about the background process, right? I know while developing package and plugin for Flutter development, or to use inside your some client project as a different package, which is coming as a plugin, you need to do a lot with the native Android and iOS part, and I'm pretty much sure that there will be a time or there will be some requirement where you have to do things in a background, as a background process. So I just wanted to know from the Deepak, how do you manage background process into the plugin development, or maybe into an app development directly?
Yeah. So Hasnen, I think little bit of background. So see, background process are the space of the app. No player want to like miss that, because there you can do a lot of things on the background process. Like background process was one. I mean, there was day when operating system was not that strict. Background processes were meant to like track users, their activity, right? So, but today now it is really hard. So let me tell you one thing. Background running is one of the most complex thing to achieve in app. Now let's talk about the use case. So I had worked on them. I had a story to share. It's like there was an app. I think there was a client. I think Denmark or Russia based. I basically don't remember, but yeah. So we were working on an app during COVID. So it was like keeping the athletes on a bubble. So they'll have their app and they'll move. We'll calculate everything on the background, and we will be calculating that how much is the risk that athlete have. Should that athlete go to the COVID test or not? Based on their like travel history and all. So we had everything tracked. So since it is a athlete tracking, so somewhere we have to like touch the health it as well. So believe me, we have tried every single possible way to achieve that, because if you want to run background, if you want to trigger something, let's say periodically 20 minutes, 30 minutes, 1 hour, 2 hour. That is, I mean, comparatively easy. But what we have to do, we have to keep our app 24/7 in the background, right? But operating system doesn't allow that. So we tried every possible thing to achieve that. And luckily, using all the health kit and everything, somehow we developed that. But it was one of the best feeling when we delivered that thing. When our use case, our work sufficed that condition. It's like we were dancing on that day. That what we have achieved. So this much of effort you need to have for the background processes. So yeah, I think that was the day that I remember. As a very good memory.
That's the exact same thing that happened to me. I actually, when we achieved that, I also jumped out of my chair and I was dancing. I was dancing and screaming without music.
I can relate to that feeling, man.
Yeah, I think it took me around 15 to 20 days just to figure out what are the packages that we need and what are the things that we need to do and how it should run. So
I think we failed in a row for the 45 days. We tried everything, but we failed every single time. But the day when it came, we were like awesome, man. So let me tell you that is true. That background process, achievement of the background development process, is one of the biggest challenge today in app market. Yeah.
All right. So adding things to what you guys said is, I think understanding about the background process is more important. You should know the process of how exactly you can handle all the background process, right? And also, I would like to give a small tip over here from my experience that if you want to learn how you can actually do or work with a background process, you can create a small timer app which should run when your app go in the background. The timer should be running in that specific scenario. That was an interview question for me. So you might never know that if I'm interviewing you, I should might and ask the same question, that write me a timer which should run for the background.
That's awesome, man. This is something that I got.
and that day someone answered this question, Hasneen will be shocked. Hasneen would say that now you should take the interview. I will join your company.
Well, so that was an interview question for me as well. So this is a tip for learning the Flutter background process and also clearing a Flutter interview in future. You never know, not just me, but this is a critical topic, so anyone can ask this, right? So since we talked about the background process, how about let's go ahead and a little bit deep dive into the standard process of starting your app, because I think when I say a standard process, the process would be like following a bunch of good practices, which scales up your app in future. Maybe you might be building a very huge product as an app, and you might have to scale it in the future, right? So that's a very basic thing that you should be following a good practice when you want to scale up your app. So how about you, Deepak? What are the good practices should one developer should follow, in terms of if they want to grow their entire product or to scale their entire app, what could be the good practices the developer should follow?
Yeah, Hassan, that is an awesome question, man. So let me tell you the thing. Why at least this needs to be followed. So the moment when you started it, there is a story came in my mind. I think there was a project that we were working. I think yes, this project, it was somehow close to the urban lab type, right? Hiring services and all. So it was very big app, since it has a lot of categories, a lot of niches, and also app was very big. So a friend of mine called me that, hey, there's a project and they are paying very well. If you can take a look, and we have structured it up. I thought, okay, let's take a look. And when I opened that repository, what I saw, There is no state management process. There is nothing. There is only one state class, and there is one like method, set state and all. And you won't believe that at least 180 classes were written in like same way with the data transition. And when I looked on app, I I, I lost my, I mean, cool, I thought I just wanted to see who was the developer who wrote this project. So they were like, we don't have track. But okay. So they asked me to, if you can like restructure the app. And I was like, it will take almost half time for me to like develop the app rather than to restructure the app. So the problem statement was this. Now, what is the solution? If a good practices would have been followed from the day one, right? It won't take much time to like follow a good practices. What good practices means? You have a project, right? Just properly set up the structure of the app, right? All the like directories you have used in your like different uh, uh, folder. You have your like repositories, APIs, calling everything in like different like folder. Like proper bifurcation should be there. And whatever architecture you want to follow, be it MUVM, you want to follow and state management, be it provider block, whatever it is, right? It's up to limitation of that. But at least a project should have a good, properly set up before starting. What companies do, they like simply had an idea in mind and they simply call a developer and they told that, hey, we have 2-3 page application, can you please bring that? So, and time, the deadline that they give is very short. So not intentionally, but like developers start immediately writing code. So they end up following a bad practice, right? And when management sees that, hey, okay, project is okay, let's just scale it. So they start development from there only. They don't come back and correct the structure and then they again do that, but they just follow from there. So that's where people lag. That's where the mistake that they make. And once development started, going back and correcting things is close to impossible.
Yes, I agree. I totally agree. So let's hear from Vikas.
Yeah, sure. I totally agree with Deepak. Yeah, Hasnen, I totally agree with Deepak. Not having a proper structure is a chaos over time. I would say that there is a saying in the development field that if you think good architecture is expensive, try a bad one.
Whoa, awesome, man.
Having a proper architecture, having a repositories. Let's say you have some third-party services. You are using the APIs from a third party. You should have proper services. You should have proper services written for that. So let's say that that third-party services suddenly stopped, then you have to switch those services, right? Because your app should work, your app should go on. Now you can't be working with the complete, you can't be changing the complete UI, the complete logics for that only one service. So you should be writing the proper services, you should be writing the abstract classes, you should be writing the contracts and everything else. And it should be a habit for a developer. Whenever I think it should be a habit in such a way that whenever you are starting an app, let's say whether it's a small app or large scale app, it doesn't matter. It should be a habit that you should be structuring your app in such a way and you should move on from there. So
Yeah, having a good practices into your development cycle is called a healthy developer, I would say, because that's good for a mental health as well, and that's good for the health of your app as well. So having good practices into your development cycle is directly proportional to your as a developer health or as a app health. Also, I have a short story to share. I'm remembering my old days when I started learning Flutter. I was in college, but somehow I picked up the freelancing project, and I was learning Flutter at that time. To be frank, I was student, so I was not knowing what is state management and how do I share the data between screen and stuff, right? Everyone was a newbie, and when you are newbie, you are always curious to build something, and because of that, maybe I picked up a freelance project. But I did a blunder in that project. I was not knowing at that time, but now I know because I have came along, I have came so far over here, and I know now what are the good practices and what are the bad practices which we should not follow and which should be follow. So what I have done in those my old and gold days was the data flow. The data flow was something like this, that I want to see some data from my first screen to the last screen. Maybe the first screen was on the the very first screen, and the last screen was, I would say, it would come up after 6 to 7 screens, right? So how I have passed it, I just guess I have passed the data from the constructor to the last constructor of the. So when I navigate from one page to another, I'm just I'm just passing everything at one side. So I mean, I have passed all the data from 6 to 7 screen from top to bottom using the constructor and the navigation flow. I mean, that was so bad.
I think it's not only US then. I think we all did that.
Yeah, see, correct. Agreed, man. That's where things go wrong. And yeah, I think one more thing I would like to add, it is not always the developer, right? It is the timeline or the management or the client that put that timeline pressure. So to manage that, developer miss that. No developer wants their project to be in a bad manner, because every developer treats their project as their side.
I mean, I totally agree with the management part as well. Right. Since we talked about the complete process, there is one more thing which I would like to know from Deepak. You as a huge company or a huge organization, I mean, you always want to reduce human errors. I mean, not just you, but everyone wants to reduce the human errors. And that's so obvious, making things automated. So the question is, what process do you follow to ship your app from your build stage to a production stage?
Yeah, I think that you mentioned rightly, that distribution of the app. So distribution of the app is not only like you make a build and you just submit all that, right? Distribution of the app involves a lot of things: marketing team, content team, and then the tech team. So that apps doesn't have any SEO or anything. You can't do coding and some third party thing, right? It is pure SEO, SEO. No matter how good app you serve, if the store presence is not good, no one going to install that, or maybe the acquisition will go really down, right? So first thing that comes in mind, a proper analysis should be there from the content team and the marketing team, that what feature we are delivering and what should be the store presence should be there. So that thing should be given to the marketing and to the content team, right? First thing is this. Now, second thing, when it comes to the tech team, right? So if you talk about distribution, right? So it's distribution is you should have a pipeline for all the deliveries of the build, right? It shouldn't be the manual process. So let me I actually, just another story, caught my friend. There was my friend. So yeah, I think he was working in India's one of the best company. The app was top 10 of the app store. It was in the segment of, let's say, fintech, not fintech, kind of premium niches, right? So we were working. So it was on the Friday. We were partying. I think so weekend developers party usually. So we were partying. So there, his manager called, and product manager called, and he told that it is a very priority. We have to push a build today. So he was drunk, and he got okay, I have to do. I asked him what to do. He told that I'm going just somewhere. So he gone home. So there is a release branch in all the GitHub repository. He find the first release. He intentionally cloned the first release of the repository, made a build, and uploaded on App Store. And boom, a blank app, literally a blank app, an app that has a user of 15 million. So somewhere when it gets to the test flight, team downloaded that, they saw that hey, app is blank. So a lot of chaos happened in the company, whatever. So his technical, engineering manager called him, and then he told what happened, why you did that. So he told that I was partying and the product manager making that pressure on me. So I was drunk, I did it. So I think lot of chaos happened, but company took a very, very good decision that no developer should be asked to work after the Friday apart from his engineering manager, and that too should be documented. So that's where I think automation plays a very important role. So yeah, I mean, CI/CD pipeline automation is one of the best thing to adopt for the delivery. It should not be a manual process.
I agree. How about you, Vikas?
Yeah, I totally agree with Deepak on this. Actually, I also had a story on this. I was working on a project about 6 months before, and when I was onboarded on this project, the developers were deploying the Play Store and App Store build manually every time they were creating a build. And the thing was that the iOS build can be a trouble, as you all guys know. So it, yeah. So the only from the whole team, the only one developer was able to create the iOS build. So every time we have to release a build on App Store, we need to contact that developer, and then he used to create that build and deploy it. So and whenever he is on leave, we all we all the team is in chaos. Then what should happen now? How would it do? So CI/CD is a CI/CD also helps in developing structuring this kind of things where anyone can deploy the app builds on App Store and Play Store, and keeping the configuration same every time is also kind of important in the apps. Basically, let's say that our machines are getting upgrades every day, every now and then, and we are upgrading it, and thus it could break something. It had broken something for my iOS apps in the past, but having a CI/CD tool like CodeMagic or something else can give us the liberty of having the same configuration every time when we are deploying our apps. So it's best to have it.
100% agree on that. 100%.
I totally agree with the Vikas. Having all those things, especially the CI/CD, which will not allow you to ship an empty package on the production side. That's so obvious that putting CI/CD and people also involving test cases which will not break the different or the old features when we add a new features, because when we release a new app, obviously there is going to be a bug fix or maybe a new feature. So we should make sure that the bug fix or the new feature should not break the old features what we have, and that's how we can make sure with the test cases we have written. So whether it could be a unit test case or whether it could be a widget test case, right? So I guess having test cases will help a lot to understand or to make things more easy in terms of breaking things by just adding a new feature. Right, so maybe having test cases is just making yourself safe and to be more confident on how your app is going to perform when it's going to scale, right? I mean, again, having CI/CD involved, which makes the process completely automated, where the developers does not have to put in manual efforts, which makes, again, the process more smooth. There is no human errors involved. So, what with that CI/CD, along with CI/CD, since we were talking about the test case, if we have a test case in the CI/CD, which will protect your previous features as well with the new features, like since we talked. So test case does hold some importance, but I just wanted to hear from Deepak, what is the importance of having test case into your development build?
Correct. Thanks, Hasnen, for bringing this topic. So a little bit background that 9 out of 10 developers doesn't write test cases. That I can agree. And you're correct. Vikas, you agree? Yeah. So at least 5 of them found it boring, first thing. And 4 of them, they don't have that time, because management or the time or the deadline that they have, they were not able to write the test cases. Now, what benefit can you have from writing the test cases, right? Let's talk about that, the benefits. So every company is not that stable that they can hire a lot of QAs, right? Quality assurance, right? So test cases plays a very important role in order to reduce the work for the QA, right? So if let's say if in an app if a developer doesn't write like test cases, so a QA has to do double amount of work what they would have been doing with the test cases. First thing is this, right? And second thing is, if you have test cases, right, and something got changed from the backend or something, right? You already have your box, you already have everything. So someone says that, okay, so you'll always have a validation that what you had, you have not changed anything, and where it got missed, right? So a very, I would say, a proper validation is there for your code. First thing is, so I would say that somewhere test cases, if you little bit go off the road, somewhere test cases favors developer a lot. First thing, so that's why it should be keep in the practice. Second, what I thought is that it is going to make your testing, be it unit testing, be it anything, be it manual testing, QA testing, it will speed up the process, and then it will speed up the process. So yeah, I think test cases are the one of one of the most important thing to like do, but somewhere due to the time, let's say what we have, the time and all, deadline, we somewhere we are missing that.
Yeah, I also have a story on this. As Deepak said, someone changed something from backend and it start breaking your app. Actually, it happened to me. There was a very short deadline for an app, and we were delivering it, and we were not writing the test cases as usual. So what happened was, I think some integer value changed from int to double, and it started breaking our home page in the app. So and everyone was blaming each other that we didn't change anything. The backend was saying that we didn't change anything, and somehow it went to production. So it was, and it was just value changed from int to double, and everything was just fine. So this is the importance that our test cases and a pipeline can have. If we have the proper test cases and a pipeline implemented, this build would never have been pushed to development. So development, I'm saying production.
I mean, the takeaway would be, if you want to protect your code, then you have to make sure that whatever code you are writing, you are testing it by just writing the unit test or maybe a widget test if you're writing in the Flutter. Because, there is going to be a blame game in future when our code base grows, and the ideal situation or the ideal scenario or the very basic scenario, what happens every time is, let's say, something gets changed in the backend and your API call gets failed in the front end. Your front end is not able to parse the data because maybe the backend developer has changed the data type, but in the front end, your Dart model is accepting integer, but from there now it's coming double. So I mean, this could happen, and this has happened. I'm pretty much sure this has happened with a lot of the developer, and then your screen breaks actually. So now the ideal scenario over here, your project manager or the product manager comes in and will say you that your UI is not working because it's just coming as blank screen. The UI is not working. But over here, the actual problem is not with the UI. The problem is with the back-end code or the API call. The back-end developer has changed the data type, which is not been aware or which is not been told to the front-end developer. So in this scenario, you need to have your test case where you will show that whatever data I am getting, I was able to parse, but now the data type has been changed in the backend, and that's where the screen is failing, or that's where my model is not able to parse the data. So I mean, the test cases works as a great documentation because your code, documentation is not in terms of how your app is working. That's the user manual documentation. I'm not talking about the user manual documentation, but the documentation is like a proof you have that you have written a code, and the previous test cases was having integer data type, but now it's been changed to double, and that's why it's failing. I mean, that would be very much easy to debug as well. And having test case, as per my experience, would give you a lot of confidence when you ship your app on the production, because you know that whatever you have written is working all fine. And if there is any bug or if there is any problem, you know the area where the problem exists, right? I mean, not the 100%, but 70 to 80%, you know how your app is going to behave on whatever the logic you have written on, or whatever the code you have written. So having test case is really important.
With the test cases, I think it gives us the liberty of creating the scenarios that might never happen. That would be one in a million cases, and that we can create with the mock data, and we can check how the app is gonna behave, because this might seem smaller, that 1 in a million, but if you have billions of users daily, like on YouTube, it's a very big figure. So
Correct.
Correct. I would say like protecting is one aspect of that test cases. But what I measure is like the amount of time reduction in like testing on the app, because testing is a very painful thing. So if you do a manual testing, we know human has a tendency to miss the errors. So yeah, I think that is one of the major cause why we should be writing test cases.
So recently I have learned a new screenshot-based testing. That has added a lot of value during my PR checks. Currently I work with a team who has also adopted the screenshot-based testing. So whenever they add a new feature, they also add a screenshot-based testing. And when they raise PR, they add the screenshot gets added into the PR. So whatever the feature they have built, I see that those features right away in the screenshot. So I do not have to run that code manually and then check or doing other PRs check or having checking it manually, obviously. So having a PRs with the screenshots will add a lot of confidence and make things automated. So I guess having widget test, having a unit test is great, but having a screenshot based would save a lot of time. Also, it's more important when you are doing, especially when you are doing some painting things, maybe where the widget test is not possible at that specific scenario. The screenshot test would make a lot of sense. So having a screenshot test is a great add-on to your development cycle. So now we have talked about a good practices. We have talked about how the problem can be solved if you're using a package, or how you can get the package. We also talked about the CI/CD. We also talked about the test cases. Now let's say your entire app is having all this involved. You are all set. You have test cases, you have CI/CD, you have been following good practices, and your app is in the production. Everything is working fine. What could be the other scenario, or what could be the thing which can make your app better? Somewhere I have learned that getting to know where you are gaining your users, or where you are losing your users, which button is being clicked more, which button is not being clicked more. I guess this is what call an analytics, right? So I think analytics also one way to make your app more better in terms of UI UX. So we have a Deepak over here, since he has a great experience about all these things. I would like to ask Deepak on how exactly all those analytics data get into a development cycle as maybe a new feature, or the improvement of that specific features, where you are not gaining user, or maybe you're gaining, or maybe you're losing user. So how could you convert those scenarios into a positive scenarios?
Well, Hasnan, thank you for bringing this question. I think this is the topic that I would like to talk, and because it is somewhere missed. It is so important and missed. Let me give you the more context on that, so everyone will understand that what is the impact of analytics, right? if you talk about today in that industry, so and by analytics, what they mean that you simply implement the analytics from from the Firebase. So you will get to know that where is your app breaking. First thing is this. Second thing, you'll have an analytics where is your classes failing, where is your exception. No, this is not analytics. This is not analytics, right? This is like 2 to 3% of an analytics. So let me tell you that what analytics exactly is. So let's say we have an e-commerce app, right? We have a homepage, we have a product listing page, we have a product detail page. Okay, then we have cart, then we have payment. So we have 5 clicks for a product to be purchased, right? So let's say if a user came, he first click on any component that bring it to a PLP, right? Then to the PDP, then to the cart, and then to the checkout. So what we learned is there was one product which was selling, let's say ABC, there was a product name that was selling very high. So we, with the help of analytics, we brought that product on the homepage, right? So 1 click reduced, right? Now efficiency is increased by 25%, right? Somewhat like 20%, correct? Because we have skipped 1 click. So this way retention is more high because we reduce a step to purchase that product for a user. Now second thing, let's say we have a lot of payments. We have UPI, we have card payment, we have, right? 70% of the user picking up UPI, correct? But you have placed it at the bottom. Okay. So when you get to know that 75% using UPI as a payment gateway, or also the success rate of the UPI is like 99%. So with the help of analytics, you will get it back on the top, right? Third thing, which we experienced actually, we had a search button. We put that search button on the top. Okay. So we thought that, hey, interaction was not there for the user. So we brought that search icon on the navigation bar, bottom navigation, and guess what? User got increased like 75%. 75%, not user, sorry. User clicks increased by 75% because it was on the bottom. So you will get to know the facts and figure, and based on that you will take a right decision. So let me tell you one case that while I think I was working on a project. So one very high management guy came, and then he told that, hey, this banner is not looking cool, implement this one. But when we pulled out data from the analytics, we saw that only 25% of the user was using that, interacting with that component which he recommended. But what marketing team implemented, 75% user was using that. So you have facts and figure, right? You will not take decision on assumptions, but you will take decision on facts and figure. So analytics is a must part if you want to have an scalable product, a very big product, right? So analytics should have been there from the day one. You will have facts and figure, you will go in the right direction. That I can assure. So that's the importance of analytics, which I think industry is missing.
Right. How about you, Vikas? Would you like to add something?
Yeah, Deepak talked about the facts and figures, and I totally agree that facts and figures speak louder than the experts in the company. So that's one thing. And analytics are not just having the interactions captured. It's even helpful for the backend developer as well. We can even track how much time an API is taking to send the data, and what are the components that are having some jitters or lag or something like this. And overall, by combining all these factors, we can improve the user experience. So, and please don't use Firebase Crashlytics, I would say. Those are not analytics. I use a better tool, or if you want to use Firebase, they can also give us the bandwidth or the features that you need. And analytics can be very powerful for the user experience and for the developers, for the front end as well as the back.
The great example would be the Instagram app. The Instagram app we are having today is not the same what we had 10 years back, right? I mean, there was a lot of iteration cycles. There was a lot of study involved, right? They have made their UX a lot improvement. So all these things can only happen with the analytics. You know where you are losing your users or where you are gaining your users. Such things plays an important role as well. Not just the development process, but the analytics on the business side can also make your app grow better, right? I mean, the very great example again would be what Deepak gave. They bring down the search button to the bottom, and then the click scenario increased, because obviously there is a study involved that when you're going to put things near to the thumb area of a user using mobile and app, there is 110% time increase on user is going to click on it. So these studies make a lot of sense. I mean, that's where the UI UX came into the picture. Whatever design system comes in, the design system holds the study of UI and UX. So having such things involved into your app will again falls under good practices. So maybe you have to follow those good practices to be best among your competitors who might be doing the same business as yours. But what difference do you make is by having a different user experience, right? Since we are running out of time, maybe now we have to wrap it up, because there are many topics which we can talk, and it's just like never ending. So I would like to give a huge thanks to the Deepak and Vikas for joining me, and maybe I can also hand over to them for their closing notes.
Well, I'll go first. So I would like to thank you guys. Thank you so much for inviting me here. It is a pleasure to interact with you guys, since I am a fan of GeekyAnts. Like I addressed at the very beginning that what GeekyAnts have delivered in my very hard time. So yeah, I thank you so much for guys inviting me. This is a lifetime experience for me, and believe me, guys, I have not international friends and all, and let me tell you that they are also going to join the same episode. So bear with us, and I'm sure I'll provide you the best international developer in from our community. So yeah, and once again, thank you guys for having me, and all the team members that is behind the camera. So thank you so much, guys. GeekyAnts, all up.
Please, Vikas, go ahead and give us a closing notes.
Thanks a lot, everyone. Thanks a lot, Deepak, for being here, and thanks a lot, Hasnen, for inviting me to this. It's a great honor to be one of the first speakers for the Flutter Factor, the initiative that GeekyAnts has taken, and I think this is a very good initiative from GeekyAnts, and it's gonna be a hit in the community. And I'm just glad that I can be a part of this. So thank you all. Thank you so much.
Thanks a lot, Vikas and Deepak, for joining and providing a valuable insight on the complete development cycle. It was very fun to talk with you guys. I'm your host, Hasnen Tai, signing off. I'll be back with another episode of Flutter Factor. I'll see you. Bye-bye.